So yes, as the title implies, I'll be giving my thoughts on the current standings of where I think, not so much as where I think Falke is on the tier list, but just my current thoughts on the character's ability to play the game. Where to begin? Okay, so, I guess I should explain my my understanding of the character over time. Basically, I don't play online very much. I don't have a very good internet connection, so it doesn't make it very worthwhile to play online most of the time. And so most of my matches are against local players and my local FGC, which means that I constantly fight most of the same players who use most of the same characters. So as of like the recent past week or so, I played a lot more online. Well, more like the past 2 weeks. I played a lot more online. I found a way to at least somewhat increase the capabilities of my internet so that I could play more matches against people without them being completely pointless. And as a result, I got to play against a bunch more matchups and found a bunch more problems with Falke's game plan, basically. So I've mentioned this a few times, but I think that Falke really struggles against characters that can interrupt her standing heavy punch. Super mobile characters also are a big problem. She has a lot of trouble pressuring the opponents. So characters with good walk speed, good backdashes, that sort of stuff. She does like medium punch into heavy punch, +3 into heavy punch, and they can backdash, and then Falke will be -10 against a character with a good backdash. Which is outright punishable by some characters, like they can just backdash and then whiff punish the standing heavy punch. If they have like a super that hits within 10 frames most of the time. It's unrealistic, but that's like a general problem, is like her buttons whiff for so long, and have so much recovery. Her buttons hit so low to the ground, and she really relies on her ability to space and land her standing heavy punch, especially off of plus frame situations. And when she can't do that against certain characters, she really can hardly get anything done. One particularly prominent death sentence for Falke is a 5-frame or faster medium button or light button that will interrupt her standing heavy punch universally. A lot of moves can like happen to beat out the standing heavy punch even if really far away, just by chance. Like the active frames and the hitbox wound up in the right place, but they'll usually lose, but some moves will just sort of beat it all the time. So, in terms of 5-frame buttons that will beat it, you have moves like this, like Akuma standing medium kick, Nikali standing medium kick, Colleen standing medium kick. Most of those buttons look very similar and actually hit very similar into similar spots. Balrog standing medium kick and crouching medium punch. All of those fall into the same category, where you're +3 and you swing standing heavy punch and you lose. But because it's 5 frames, there are certain buttons with other characters like Cammy that have 6-frame normals, like Cammy's standing medium punch that I showed off in the previous video. 6-frame normals that can interrupt Falke's standing heavy punch. So yes, if a character has 6-frame normals that can interrupt Falke's standing heavy punch, that's still fine, because if you're +3, you can swing out your 8-frame medium kick. But against 5 frames or faster, trade. Because of that, after that, you have to entirely rely on the guesswork of whiff punishing and counter poking and like buffering, or just taking him the measly damage of like a single light, like a light kick into Kugel, which just puts you back to neutral because Kugel is only +1 on hit. Or just taking the light kick as it is, or anything like that, which gets you a big enough frame advantage that your heavy punch will be able to go through cleanly. But then it's like buttons that beat this so decisively. Yeah, buttons that beat this so decisively. Just and Akuma's standing medium kick isn't even the worst one. Like, I would say Balrogs and Nikali's have the worst buttons for Falke to deal with. M. Bison has a bunch of buttons that are a big problem for her to deal with as well. So yeah, it's like even though you have these quote unquote long range pokes, the stat graph for the characters like sort of claims that Falke is a long range character, but Falke has almost nothing at long range, nothing effective, nothing damaging. And her best long range things, quote unquote, anything that hits at a moderate range that can actually link into anything, is 8 frame standing medium kick and 10 frame standing hard punch. And everything else has almost no range. So what this basically boils down to is, it's like you have a character that has good jump in buttons, bad walk speed, and really like poor dashes for like the speed and length of her buttons. A lot of buttons that hit really low to the ground and have a lot of recovery, making her susceptible to get jumped in on a lot of the time just for trying to land hits in neutral. And a game plan that like mostly revolves around her lights in neutral to at least like hit the opponent and then get them to stop pressing buttons, but it doesn't add up to much over time, and not really like a fireball game or anything. She doesn't have anything she can put on screen that will help her move in or do anything like that. She just sort of she just has her basic toolkit. She has like a few fireballs, quote unquote, but they're way too fast. They don't help her. They don't stay on screen long enough for her to make use of them after she's recovered from throwing them. If they were actually intending this character, see the thing is like there's a variety of things that they could do to make it less bad in some of these matchups where she really struggles and with some of these problems. Make it so she's less reliant on her standing heavy punch to get work done. Other things like that. But fundamentally, it's like I can't necessarily say which direction they should go in because I don't know what exactly they were intending the character to be able to do in the first place. So it's like if they were actually trying to make a character that is a zoning character that keeps the opponent out, they failed miserably because her keep away game is awful. Like there's a billion ways to get around anything that she can do in neutral. But a larger thing that I would complain about is like a lot of people have complained that the character is dull to play, just sort of boring to play, and I think most of that comes from not understanding how she's supposed to play in the first place, because they think that a lot of people still think that she has to play like this, which is, you know, worthless and won't get anything done. But, it's true that she lacks a lot of tools and things to be able to do in neutral outside of V-Trigger. In V-Trigger, she gets, like, a few more worthwhile options, although not too terribly strong. Because, like, that's not like an Akuma air fireball, because she doesn't get to move in alongside it. It doesn't come out that fast. It doesn't have that big of a hitbox. Stuff like that. You can still jump clean over that and get a punish if you do it from range. So, it's like... because I don't know exactly what they were trying to do, I can't necessarily say with absolute certainty what they should be doing. But I'll just give my thoughts on what I would like to see changed for the character, or given to the character. So as it stands right now in neutral, like, she has okay buttons if her standing heavy punch, because like her standing heavy punch just by default is a bit of a risk to throw out. That's why I like to at least poke with a jab first to make sure that I'm at a frame advantage, so that I know that I'm keeping them on the ground and they can't jump out of it. But a problem with that is it's like she has like the buttons are fine for the most part, but they whiff for a long time. They're slow. Anything that has any actual range is slow. Medium punch can work as a buffer against certain buttons, but it doesn't have that many active frames, so it's not actually that effective. It stuffs forward dashes and stuff, but even this button has a lot of recovery, more than it really should for how short-ranged it is. It might have been done this way to make it easier to hit confirm, but like Chun-Li's back hard punch, like, doesn't whiff for anywhere near as long, but has a lot more hit stun on actually on hit or on block, which makes it incredibly easy to hit confirm. So like I'm not gonna go into specifics on like what I think should be changed in terms of damage output, walk speed, dash speed, anything like that. I'm just gonna talk about like the tools that I would rather see given to the character to make it so that she doesn't have to rely so much on one thing and then just be left with a bunch of mediocre options if the character that she's fighting against can really blow up that one thing. I guess I'll just run through the fundamentals. Standing light punch, not super great, not a great move. Kind of pointless, kind of redundant. Because, like, it hits mostly the same place that Crouching Light Punch does, in that it doesn't hit high into the air. It has the same frame data as Crouching Light Punch. Crouching Light Punch hits farther. So it's like, this move is not super, has a purpose. I would like to see this improved in terms of, like, hit stun and block stun. Because, like, right now, she can't really combo her lights into her lights or anything like that. Except for Crouching Light Kick to Crouching Light Punch, which is a rapid cancel, or Standing Light Kick, which is +4, which can combo into her other lights. So I think this sucks and is kind of pointless. So I could easily see that getting improved to actually have more of a purpose. Let's see. Light Kick is really good. It's one of her best buttons, but it's still like. I guess I'll get to that. Medium punch, very short range, does a lot of pushback. I would like to see it have more active frames as a buffer and recover faster on whiff. That would be good to see. Crouching medium punch, very pointless. It's just as slow as standing heavy punch, except it can't cancel into anything. It's worse on block. It has a worse hurt box. The only benefit is that it's slightly longer ranged, but not to the point that it actually means anything. It doesn't cancel, and it just like you can leave this alone, but you can just make this faster, like significantly faster. Crouching medium kick, I would like to see special cancelable. Honestly, like I don't think that's asking for too much. So the problem with that is not that I think that crouching medium kick, like. Not even for the purposes of having a low that's special cancelable, but like if they didn't want to, then just make like the speed up crouching medium punch and make that special cancelable, because it's like her only medium button that actually works and has any range at all that is special cancelable is 8 frames. Medium kick is 8 frames, which isn't enough for you to contend with 5 frame mediums at this range. Like, even +3, not even mentioning the +2 that you get off of your crouching light punch or anything. You can't do that. You can instead just create a frame trap with crouching medium kick to beat their 5 framers or anything like that. And then that crouching medium kick doesn't lead to anything. So it's like, unless, like, without messing with the frame data and making standing medium kick faster, I would say make crouching medium kick special cancelable. And that would help with several problems in Falke's game plan. In addition to just making, like, standing light punch better on hit and on block, thus allowing it to counter hit confirm into something that's, like, 7 frames, or, like, unless they're speeding up anything, I'll just assume that 7 frames is the fastest that they would be willing to make a medium button that's not her standing medium punch. Honestly, like, medium punch is so short-ranged, I don't see why it couldn't be 5 frames, and then this be, like, 6 frames, and this be 7 frames. Like, I don't see why they can't just bump all that stuff up 1 frame faster. Actually, hell, like you could leave the frame data for standing light punch, like, pretty much the same and just make it a 3-framer, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think that they decide whether or not a character is a character that has a 3-framer or not when they make them, so that's the big thing that I would like to see changed with her buttons and frame trap game like this, is that, like, +3 is not enough for her to do anything against characters that can beat her standing heavy punch. +3 is not enough, because she can only contend because her standing heavy punch will just cause those buttons to whiff. But if she can't cause those buttons to whiff, if they'll hit her anyways, she needs to be able to actually frame trap them, and her buttons are not fast enough to do that. Unless she just uses her limp, like, standing light kick into gunshot, and then that's it. That's all the damage she gets, and gets nothing else. She doesn't have, like, good neutral crush counter buttons without, like, forward hard punch, which isn't even that good. It's has a ton of recovery. It's like it's like throwing a fireball. It can be easily jumped in on, so it's much riskier than a lot of other characters' neutral crush counter buttons. But even then, and it's not very rewarding on crush counter, but it does have a lot of range. You know, this is fine. I would just like to see that change how minus it is on block. I would like to see its frames on block and on hit change based on how far away, just like Minot's orbs, because this clearly moves forward during the animation, but it hits universally. Every single range, it always hits at the exact same time. So I'd like to see it hit slightly faster, closer up. I could even take it being like -12 if you do it point blank, so long as it's only like -6 or whatever at max range. That would, I think, help a lot. It wouldn't change the fact that they could just jump in on this, so you wouldn't be able to abuse this anyways, because it's just a fireball by that point. But I think that would help. Change the hurt box, like changes to the hitboxes and hurt boxes would help. I really just want to see, like, improvements to the speed, like the startup speed, and more than anything, the recovery of her regular buttons, like her medium buttons. Like I said, she doesn't have that many medium buttons she can rely on in neutral. That's why you just see medium kick all day, is because it's like, well, what other button is she going to use? Standing heavy punch won't combo into things if you buffer it from this range, and it's not good to buffer this move anyways. Standing medium punch has no range, and nothing else is special cancelable, and this only goes into light kick, and trying to buffer things into light kick off of your lights, like trying to buffer Kugel, means that you'll constantly be losing charge. So all they have to go back on is just poking with lights and doing medium kick by that point. So once again, it's like she has one thing to fall back on, and if that one thing doesn't work against the character's options that she's fighting against, then, like, what else does she have to fall back on? She doesn't have enough regular tools outside of V-trigger. I don't think much needs to change with her standing heavy kick. Like, it's a crush counter button. It hits pretty high up. It's actually not that bad for what its purpose is, like getting through fireballs and things like that. You know, it's fine. This actually works pretty well. Sweep. Yes, sweep sucks. It's like I don't know what they would do with it to make it not suck. A lot of characters' sweeps aren't that useful, but even so, like, they could leave it as it is and just have it be like a basic knockdown thing, whatever. I would like to see it, like, be a little bit, I don't know. And then, like, the next thing that you have to talk about, the biggest thing that I want to complain about is her gunshots. But so I'll leave that for, like, later, and then just talk about some other stuff for now. Another big thing is her knockdowns. The Oki she gets off of them, once again, very dependent on, like, she has one thing to rely on, and if she can't rely on that one thing, which is, like, safe jumping with that, or being able to meaty the opponent with that, especially if she can't rely on those things, like against a Cammy. Because, like, at certain ranges, for example, here, I guess I'll just demonstrate this. Alright, so here we have Cammy waking up with a heavy DP. What I talked about in, like, just, like, the last video pretty much was safe jumping on normal recovery with that. So it's like off of this specific spacing, you do this, you jump in, oh, you get beaten. Whereas, like, if you do this, oh, you get beaten. Because at that spacing, and her DP moves so far forwards that it just slips underneath the fireball, no matter how you time it. Dive kick, get beaten, because it moves so far forwards. So it's like in those situations, like, all your options get shut down, because none of your options are like, really that great to begin with in that situation. And so it's like you can beat other characters if you make the right guess for very little reward usually, but it's like character shuts down those options. Character has like a universal option to a jump in or an air fireball or the dive kick. Then what? Like that entire air game that she supposedly has based on her moveset with having these moves is immediately like negated. I really don't want to underplay like how good some of her options are, specifically her standing heavy punch, a lot of the time, because it is really quite useful. But the fact that it's the only thing you can fall back on that is effective, that works in these situations is not. It leaves you with not enough. You don't have enough tools to work with. You don't have enough tools to have enough variety to be able to handle different situations. If you can't, like, So anyways, after that we have, yeah, just like all of her knockdowns really are not super great. Especially if the opponent back recovers. Not super effective, not super useful. She doesn't get Oki off of it. Her neutral game suffers, especially against like any button that you press. Almost any button that you press could get you jumped in on, because you might not be able to anti-air in time if they're already on the ground, and Falke's buttons don't hit high enough into the air, which is why you have to tentatively play with like light kick and occasionally tap like medium kick or whatever. She has good jump-in buttons, but it's like, but even from range, they're still not very threatening on hit or on block from this range, because, well, one, you can't combo off of them effectively if you're this far away, and the farthest way you can combo off of it is crouching medium punch, which gets nothing. So you can get stuff like that, but anyways, yeah, it's like that leads to nothing. So like, say if you see a jump in and then you anti-air it or whatever, you attempt to anti-air, but she actually did the fireball. It's like Falke drops down right below where she threw the fireball, and even if she gets the hit, she'll still be significantly -4 in this instance. Some characters, depending on the hurt box of their anti-air, and what other fast 4-frame or 5-frame options they have, can even punish Falke for landing after doing the air fireball, even if she successfully baited their anti-air. But more than anything is like I want changes made to these moves, the charge moves, the fireball moves. This is the most fun part of the character, for me at least, is playing with the charge. I can play this character with charge at every single instance in the match. The only times that I won't have charge is when I need to be able to react to a dive kick or something in neutral with the reversal. Anything else, I can do everything while holding charge. I can hit all my buttons using the tech that I talked about in previous videos. Any button that I can do it into my inputs. I can do all of the fireball moves. I can do all, like, the Schneide. If I whiff a move and then need to anti-air as fast as possible with the EX Schneide, because of the system level tech that I talked about in a much previous video, where it's like if you're recovering from an action and you buffer in a special or any action, it will take in the last previously inputted action. So if I whiff that and then like release my punch buttons, if I release the punch buttons but then press something else, it will take whatever action I inputted last. So if I whiff a normal and then normal's getting jumped in on, I can release my thing and I can release my buttons and then get the EX Schneide without having to let go of the fireball. I can do that when I'm blocking. As soon as I block a move, I can just let go and then instantly input the 3 punches button, and it will come out with the EX Schneide rather than the fireball. So in almost no instances do you need to actually not have charge available. You can play with charge the entire time, pretty much. Even when I'm doing things like this, where they're blocking and it's like I'm doing that loop over and over, I am alternating all of my inputs simultaneously just to keep charge all the time. I am changing which inputs I'm holding and letting go every single instance because I'm hitting all sorts of different punch inputs that need to still be held down, like so. Keeping charge the entire time. I have totally mastered being able to hold charge and switching my punch inputs that I'm holding in order to have charge at all instances, and there's not really that much of a reward for being able to do that. The charge moves that you get are mediocre at best. Let's talk about these 3 moves. This one sucks. I have talked at length on this channel about why this move sucks and how much it sucks. This move is basically just a glorified combo extender in the corner. Like so. And it has properties for going underneath fireballs, but it's not particularly useful in doing so because it has so much recovery. If you're using it in close range to actually punish fireballs on reaction, it doesn't low profile fireballs fast enough for you to be able to do that. And beyond that, it can just catch backdashes, but it's still not great at doing that, and it's still dangerous to throw out. It's basically a move that you can't throw out in neutral lest you get punished immediately if the opponent has any idea what they're doing. And yeah, like this move just sucks. It also sucks. It's also minus on block. And then you have your Kugel, which is a short-ranged fireball that has multiple hits and will beat other fireballs, but has an also extremely awkward hurt box, and the projectiles often move too quickly and fail to collide with multiple hits of other fireballs. So if you're hitting against multi-hitting fireballs like EX fireballs or Sonic Cross from Guile or anything like that, it'll only successfully get rid of 1 hit of the fireball, and then the second hit will move past you, and because of the disjointed hurt box that this move has when you throw it out, the second hit of the fireball will hit you no matter what you do in any single situation that you use this move against a multi-hitting fireball, and then you'll get hit anyways. Like the reward is inconsistent because like at this range it may hit a few times, it may hit just once. It's minus on block, so it doesn't have that tool going for it. It's just like a close range poke fireball that's not particularly effective. So yeah, this move also kind of sucks. Like, and I want to talk about why that bothers me. See, the thing about the Kugel not being super great is because the Kugel is necessary. It's by far and away the most important one that you need to have at your disposal, but ultimately it's just a poke. It will never not be anything other than a poke or a confirm into V-trigger, or a confirm into a knockdown in V-trigger 2, in which you can confirm off of your pokes. That's all it is. It only really serves a purpose when you have V-trigger or in V-trigger 2, or when you have super. Like, other than that, it's just a poke. It's not a rewarding poke. It only gives you a certain amount of damage. Sometimes it doesn't even combo off of the things that you cancel it into. It's not plus on block. It has none of that stuff going for it. And, like, the most rewarding thing to do is, instead, if you're, like, moving in and pressing light kick or anything, leave it at the light kick if you're landing the light kick, and then instead continue your pressure because you have more plus frames if you leave it at the light kick and you're closer. And you have the capacity to land, like, a heavy punch or something like that. So this is the character. This is what I want to talk about for why it bothers me that those charged gunshot moves are not great. Is because this is another character that has special, like fireball inputs, per se, that are really good. Sonic Boom is really good. It's so much better than, like, every other fireball in the game. It's better than Ryu's fireball. It's better than Ken's fireball. It's better than Rashid's fireball. It's better than Urian's fireball. It's better. Why is it better? Why does it deserve to be better? Because it's a charge move. Because you can't move forwards and do it. It has a restriction. You can't do it too many times in a row. Too quickly. So yes, this has a restriction. You need to have back charge before doing this, and that's why it's allowed to be as good as it is. Even if Guile is, like, regardless of whether he was intended to be or not, even if he is, like, extremely strong compared to the other characters, that's always why, like, this is allowed to be better than the other fireballs, is because it has that restriction of needing a charge, of needing a dedicated amount of time to charging it, and the fact that you can't move forwards. Falke, you have to charge for even longer than you would for a back charge move in order to get the charge for one of the fireballs by holding down a punch input. You have to hold down a punch input, so you can't do them, like, too frequently in a row, because as soon as you shoot one, then you need to get charge back before you can do it again, which means that you can't just constantly buffer lights into it, because then you won't have charge fast enough to be able to do those buffers and things like that, which is what makes buffering with charged characters, like, not as easy to do as buffering with other characters. So why are these moves so mediocre in comparison? If they have this restriction, why aren't they significantly better? Like, now, I have a larger problem with this in that, like, I don't think that based on these tools, I don't think that the air fireball really needs to be that much better. I mean, it is really bad right now. It's, like, worse than Akuma's regular jumping fireball, and that's not even that great. So I can tolerate this being bad because it's not part of, like, a solid ground game. But if they wanted to seriously make Falke, like, have a really strong air game or something, they would need to significantly buffer options in the air, and not have them be also universally easy to beat. But instead, I think it's fine where it's at. It gives her the ability to maneuver around fireballs on the ground by being in the air and putting something on screen. You know, it's fine. It doesn't need to be that much better. But it's like, her options on the ground, this is supposed to go under fireballs. Like as far as I can tell, this is supposed to be a move that you can use to duck under fireballs and punish them. This does not do that. It does not duck fast enough. It does not shoot fast enough. It has way too much recovery. As they can see it way before you actually shoot. They can jump over it. Falke won't be able to anti-air in time if they jump over it. Often, several characters can jump over it on reaction and get a full punish. Other characters have other options that they can do from full screen to punish it anytime they see it. This is basically a move that you can't use in neutral. even in a situation where you should be able to use it in reacting to a fireball at about this range, it still won't be good enough because it doesn't low profile fireballs fast enough, and you'll still get beat anyways. It's incredibly difficult to make this actually get through fireballs correctly. So, like, that sucks. Once again, that makes it so it's just a glorified combo extender in the corner. Like, why can't this be better? Why can't this have a faster startup? Why can't this be, like, say, plus on block or anything? Why can't, like have some benefit to, like, the people that play that are capable of and have, like, mastered the character ability to have charge at all times? Give them a reason to want to have charge. Give them a purpose to doing these moves. Make these moves useful. Have them be actual tools that it sucks to play Falke without using those. This is the most fun part of the character, and it's not, like, it's often preferred to not use those moves and instead do other things. Like, I honestly think she should have, like, 2 new moves at least. 1 new command normal. I want, like, a forward medium punch. Like, sort of like, not to the degree of, like, Chun-Li's, like, forward or back medium punch. Not necessarily that good of a move, but like something to the same effect, where a poke that you can stab in with that is fast, that hits pretty high into the air. I want a button of Falke's that actually hits decently high into the air so that it can stop people from jumping and backdashing every 2 seconds. Beyond that, I'd like Schneide to be a bit better of an anti-air, or at least be a bit more, like, I don't know. But yeah, I want that I want a new command normal or something that will actually hit high enough into the air to like, be a decent poke that is also another poke that you can add to a currently limited repertoire of neutral pokes and things to do in block strings. As well as, like, a new move to do with the charge. Like, say, like holding back and then releasing the gunshot and it does something else, or holding forward and releasing the gunshot and it does something else. I seriously need this to be buffed so that it's, like, has more purposes. I want this to be buffed so that, like Guile's Sonic Boom is plus on block and all these other things, and then this is just, like, +1 on hit and useless and -3 on block, and it doesn't create frame, and it's not. So, like I don't understand why these can't be significantly better than they currently are. And I want, like, another, like I said, I want another move that you can do, another tool to use. I want, like, basically like a Laura Fireball. If you hold back and release it, I want, like, a decently slow-moving fireball that you can generate by having the charge and then holding back and releasing it. I feel like that would help, like, fill in a lot of the gaps in what she struggles to do with her ground game. As well as, like, modifying those moves so that they're more useful on block in pressure to do things like that. Like a Bison Psycho Blast, like, that can be, like the heavy one can be plus on block. Any version is safe on block and gets a knockdown. Like, all those other things. Like, why can't these moves do something similar? Like, be rewarding for having that charge and spending that charge where you have to get that charge back again. Like, I don't see why these can't, like, that move at least, or that move, like, why can't they be plus on block? But yeah, anyways, I really think that, like, a slow moving fireball that you could generate using the charge would help a lot with Falke's troublesome, like, neutral game at this range, or give her something to do if she's over here. Like, I don't need it to go full screen or anything like that, or even be, like, anywhere decent for zoning, but just, like 1 or 2 more tools would be really handy, as well as drastically increasing the tools and usefulness of all of her gunshot moves, thus giving an actual purpose to being able to holding the charge, and giving a motivation to holding the charge in more situations. Right now, I just do it for vanity's sake, because it's fun. Because that's what is fun with the character, is doing the charge, is holding the charge, maintaining the charge, alternating the buttons, like I'm doing so in here, where I'm alternating between medium punch and heavy punch in order to continue to have the charge while I'm doing these combos. I do that not because it's useful for the character, but because it's fun. But it's really no different than just doing that. So that's my thoughts. That's what I would like to see changed with the character, in addition to like any basic fundamental stuff like walk speed and dash speed. So yeah, that's my current thoughts. I really don't like how much she relies on very specific limited options, and how limited her options are outside of V-trigger in what you can actually go about doing in a match, or in neutral, or in pressure, or, you know, whatever. Because, like, she has a few other options that she can go for, but they're so bad that they're super not worth going for. They're way bigger risks than they are, like, actual tools. As it currently stands. Doing that, and doing that sort of stuff. Not super helpful. That, yeah, all stuff that's not really that useful, and it just sort of takes away from like how much you can enjoy playing the character over and over, because of like the lack of variety in your tools, and it also really strongly like makes her suffer in some matchups way more than others if the tools that are strong and reliable suddenly can't be relied on, like standing heavy punch. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Evo's not tomorrow, but I'm flying out to Vegas tomorrow. So anyways, this is the last video from before Evo. So yeah, I'm gonna have fun there, play some games. It's gonna be a good time.